What is up, guys? Welcome back. So today I want to talk about something that can hopefully put you in a better state of mind as far as like being rational. Um, it helped me get out of a lot of cycles and helped me move on. And ultimately, it was what helped me move on from this whole thing after 5 years, because it wasn't just about looking at yesterday, like the title says. I was able to look at last week, look at last month, look at last year. But for a lot of you that are in a really bad spot and you're in the cycle, maybe it's new, it's fresh, constant panic attacks, not sleeping, bombarded with symptoms. Maybe you fear that you're having heart attacks. Maybe you fear sudden death, a seizure, a stroke, an aneurysm, embolism, pancreatitis, and internal bleeding or whatever, medical emergencies, all those things. And for those of you that are going through the thick of it right now, and stay with me if you're not going through the thick of it, because just scaling this out is what's going to help you, and that's what helped get me out of it. But for those of you that are in the thick of it, I just want you to look at yesterday. Because if you're dealing with this as bad as I was, pretty much every day there were moments where I thought this was going to be my last moment on earth. I thought I was going to die, whether it be me thinking I was going to have a heart attack or a stroke, or I was just going to faint or pass out, or I was going to pass out while driving, get into a car accident. I can go on and on and on about all the medical emergencies or catastrophes that I catastrophized about. I was always thinking worst case scenario with my symptoms, excuse me. So I would spend the whole day freaking out, thinking that I'm dying, debating going to the hospital, debating calling 911, sometimes going to the hospital, sometimes going to the ER, sometimes spending the night at the ER parking lot just in case I had to crawl in there and, if I was having a heart attack. Just every day it felt like it could be my last day. And something that I wish that I did early on, especially, was put an emphasis on looking at yesterday and realizing I didn't die. Sure, I knew that kind of up there or whatever, but I never put an emphasis on it. I never made a great conscious effort to blow that thought up or replicate it or magnify it and give it more worth and weight, right? It was just something that would kind of be up there like, well, you didn't die yesterday. No, you thought for certain yesterday, Trey. There are 3 different times. Some days there's like 7 or 8 different times that you thought you were going to die. I remember you raced home from the grocery store. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. And you hurried up and got home. And sure enough, your chest stopped hurting as bad when you got home. Your heart attack was like, oh, thank God you got back home. Like, oh, remember when you walked into the grocery store, you thought you were going to pass out because of that weird lighting, that fluorescent lighting. It made you feel really lightheaded. You thought you were going to just fall out. Didn't happen. Remember when you felt that weird sensation in your head and, that weird pain or whatever? You're like, oh my God, I'm about to have an aneurysm. You started to panic. Didn't happen. And yeah, there could be days where I would think 3 different things. Sure, there were days where it was just heart attack all day, or just I'm afraid of a seizure all day, or a stroke, and it would have its themes. Each day had its own theme, but there were many days where it'd be multiple things within one day. Even more proof that this was anxiety, right? But something I wish I would do, or did, back then, was to look at the day before and to just realize it didn't happen then. It's not going to happen today. Especially if I was so sure of it yesterday, it never happened. And I'm not going to get yesterday back. I'm not going to get yesterday back. And I want you to think about this. If you knew at the time that these were just a weird sensation, or that it was just a panic attack, or that you're going to get back, yesterday would have been a beautiful day. Maybe you would have still had some hypersensitivity or some symptoms, but you take the fear component away, you would have had a great day. You'd been like, man, this is bad. I know I'm not going to die. I'm going to be okay. You would have been fine. But since there was that unknown factor and the anxiety, the fear with it, yesterday it felt like a nightmare. But you didn't die yesterday. Today's a different day. And now, you know how we hear like, it's a new day with new opportunities and everything like that. Sometimes with anxiety, that can get us in trouble, It's a new day with new opportunities to die, either from the same thing we worried about yesterday that didn't end up happening, or a new disease. We go through that. That's how irrational we are. What if today's the day? What if this is the big heart attack? What if this time I don't go to the ER and it turns out to be something and I die because of it? What if today's the day that I faint? When I go to the store or pass out while I'm driving, what if today's that day, right? So obviously there's an element of letting go of control, but something that allowed me to let go of control was realizing I'm never getting yesterday back. Now, that helps people that are in the thick of it, right? Well, say you're starting to get better. Look at the past week. There might have been one moment during the past week where you thought you were going to die or something bad was going to happen. Some of you can go back out to a month because you're doing really good, right? But for me, I looked back over years whenever I finally got out of this, because I was like, oh my God, for the past 5 years, there's been some decent times, but just a lot of rough times where I've just thought about death and dying and disease and thought I was dying multiple times a day for, years at a time. Whenever I got past my heart anxiety and the sudden death thing, I started worrying about cancer. So yeah, I didn't necessarily think I was dying every day, but I thought I was in the process of dying, and still thinking about it. And I just looked back and I realized, like, I've wasted so much time, and I'm not getting into that time back. I've been to the doctor so many times. They always tell me that I'm healthy, that nothing's wrong. It never happens. And I've been certain so many times that it was going to happen, and it never happens. It's not going to happen today. And as bad as I'd felt so many times to get told that there's nothing on your blood work wrong, there's nothing on this test wrong, I was like, man, I finally accepted, like, if something real is happening, I'm gonna freaking know. And likelihood is there won't even be that much of a fear factor, probably. It's gonna be like, I know I gotta get something figured out, like I am sick. And it's funny because when I start to think about, some of the worst pains or some of the things that I've been through in my life, I didn't have a crap ton of fear attached to it like I did with my anxiety. I had a lot of pains with anxiety. I had a lot of symptoms and everything like that. But, like, I've snapped my arm in half before. I cut my head open where you could see my skull and I had to get a ton of stitches up here. I've had really bad ear infections since I was a kid. I'm talking about just like where it would actually rupture my eardrum over and over again on its own from being infected. I've had really bad abscesses. Just genetics are not in my favor in that area. I've had really bad things happen. I've had mono. I've had really bad COVID before. I've had a lot of things that were painful. Really bad stuff. And there wasn't a lot of fear attached to it. It was like, oh, I broke my arm. Like, this hurts. It hurts. I need to go to the ER and get it fixed. My ear hurts really bad. There wasn't a ton of fear with it. My tooth hurts really bad. There wasn't a ton of fear with it. My head hurts really bad. I mean, I was young whenever that happened. I was like, trying to remember the age. I think I was like 8. And I wasn't even freaking out about it. I went there, I told my mom, I was like, I think I need stitches. And she's like, yeah, I think you do too. I wasn't panicking. But here I am, 20-something years old, panicking. There ain't blood coming from anywhere. I don't have a broken arm. I don't have a bad ear infection. I don't even have COVID. Don't even have a cold. I don't have anything. I feel a weird sensation or a symptom, or my heart's racing a little bit. And I'm going into full panic mode. It's the fear attached to the symptom that makes it so terribly horrible and horrifying. So I was able to also use that whenever I was looking at my past. I was like, I'll know if something, finally be able to say that to myself, I'll know if something is wrong, because there was the longest period of time where it's like, I don't know if I will know. I don't know if I can trust myself, because I feel like I have trusted myself and I've been wrong and all this. Like, I believe you are going to know when something is really going wrong. If you've been checked out, you've been told you're healthy many times. I'm not saying that there can't be a misdiagnosis sometimes. I mean, it's unfortunate. This life works like that sometimes. But for the most part, what gave me peace, and I'm just trying to, it doesn't have to necessarily be directed at you. I'm just trying to tell you what helped me. What gave me peace and allowed me to let go was that 5 years had passed, had never been diagnosed with anything, went through all these different cycles, never died when I thought I was going to die. And if I could be really honest with myself, the worst pains that I ever dealt with my life, I didn't even have that much fear attached to it. So I was like, if something's going to happen, I'm going to know. It's going to be more painful probably. It's going to be a little bit more dire. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like, well, I need to go get help. I need to go get treatment. I need to get fixed. There's not going to be so much, what if it's this? What if it's that? Oh my God, what if? I don't know if I'm going to die. I don't know if I'm going to die. And I had to have faith that, you know, going forward, I was going to know truly if there was something dire or something was going on. At least that's what I had to do for myself. What else are we going to do? Like, I had to come to that realization. That had to be my conclusion, to let me let go of control. Like, if something were to happen, I think I'll know and I'll figure it out and I'll get help. I'll get treatment. And also something that helps, guys, I don't know if you can hear that. There's this guy that just drives up and down with his tractor like every other day. It's kind of crazy. That's Texas for you. But even if I do get diagnosed with something or something happens, it doesn't mean I'm going to die. Don't think that cancer or a heart problem is a death sentence. It doesn't mean that either. You can fight whatever you have. A stat that I wish that I knew whenever I was going through my heart anxiety, and at least this is one that I saw, that over 90% of first-time heart attack sufferers survive. And that's all ages. So imagine like me being in my early 20s, it probably was higher. I don't know what it would be for that. Probably 93, 94, 95%, if not higher. Maybe even higher than that. I wish I would have known that back then. That would have saved me a lot of headaches. Because every time I had chest pain and I thought about having a heart attack, I was like, I'm going to die from this heart attack. You know, a lot of you suffering from cancer fears like I did, like the second half of my health anxiety. It wasn't like, oh, I might have cancer and maybe I can, you know, I could probably fight it, or it's mostly survivable. No, I was going to be the one that died. And if it has a 90% survival rate, I was going to be that 10%. So also you can see the problems that we have with catastrophizing and spiraling. But looking at my past, realizing how much time has gone away and realizing I'm not getting any, you know, younger, realizing that one day inevitably something is going to happen and I don't want to waste all the time in between, really helped me let go of control. And then realizing, ranging from yesterday to the past 5 years, that I never die and I'm not going to die again today. I'm not going to die today. But anyways, I hope, you know, at least this discussion could kind of help you a little bit, maybe give you a different way of viewing things. But guys, if you want more help with your anxiety recovery, check out my course, Elite Anxiety Bootcamp. Thank you guys who have been getting that recently. I know you're getting a lot of value out of it. There's been quite a few people, you know, take that next step in their recovery process to, you know, actually follow a plan, you know, a step-by-step type deal where they can go through it and use materials and tools and, you know, hold themselves accountable is what it really comes down to, holding themselves accountable and taking things that are given to them and actually putting them in place. But thank you guys that have been getting that. It helps supports me in the channel as well. It helps me keep making videos like this. So be a part of that. I'll put the link to that down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. But I love you guys, and until next time, keep fighting.